Hello everybody and welcome to my channel again. So today we are going to learn about lists. We already talked about strings. So lists is another data type. So first before we move on, let's look at the difference between a list and a string. So we talked about a term mutable and immutable. So strings are immutable, which means that an element in a string or any object, any digit, any letter, it cannot be altered or it cannot be updated or changed. Whereas lists are mutable, that means that we can change or update elements in the list. We can perform various operations in a list, but this is not possible in strings. The second difference which we have is that elements can be assigned at specific index element in lists, whereas in strings, a specific index cannot be assigned to characters. We can use indexing for calling an element in string, but in list, we can call an element as well as change an element in strings. So we by using indexing. For example, over here, list in strings, if suppose we have a string Python, and then if I write str2, it's going to print the it's not going to print this. And if I write like this, I want to change the second element of the string to p. So the second element is 0 1 2. It's this is t is the second element, and if I want to change it to the letter p, then it will give us an error, which means it is not possible because strings cannot be updated, they are immutable. Whereas in list, this is possible. If I want to change this 8, and if I want to write the word world over here in place of this is possible in lists. So this was an example. Then the third difference is that in lists we use square brackets, whereas in strings we do not use any brackets. They are enclosed within single or double quotes. This doesn't make any difference. Then lists are heterogeneous data collection of heterogeneous data types, which means that in lists you can have different types of data types. It can be numbers, it can be floating numbers, it can be characters, it can be strings, anything. Whereas in strings you cannot have heterogeneous data types. You can have a collection of characters or alphabets or numbers or special characters separately. Then we have how to create a list. There are two ways of creating a list. One is you can directly write elements separated by commas enclosed within square brackets. So this is the identification of a list. If there are these numbers and they're separated with commas and it's enclosed within square brackets. So this is a list. Another way is to use a list constructor, which is we can write list name. If I write, let me show you. If I write like this, lst is equal to list, and then I write within round parenthesis, I write something. So this will also give us a list. This is one way, and the other way is lst and directly write within square brackets. So these both are lists. Then we have indexing of a list. Indexing of list means that how do we retrieve elements in the list, or if we want to change or replace an element, then how do we call an element? So each element in a list is given a particular index value. So if we start from the front, then the indexing starts from 0 and it goes on. It's like 0 1 2 3, and if we have to retrieve a element from the back, then we have negative indexes, like the last element will be given the indexing as -1. The second last will be given the indexing as -2, whereas the first one will be given the indexing as 0. So this is how we can index elements from the front as well as from the back. Then we have accessing elements from a list. So we can access elements from a list using indexing only. Like if we write index in square brackets, that means we want to retrieve this index. If I like, this is my list 3 4 5. If I like, if I want to print list 0, then it's going to print the number or the character element present at the 0th index, which is 3. So it's going to give the output as 3. If I write list 1, it's going to give the output as 5. It is, which is the object at the first index position. And if I write minus 1, it's going to give me the last element. Then we have iterating or traversing through a list. That means how you can traverse through a list or how can access elements in a list using loops. So this can be done with for loop. Instead of writing all the elements, we can directly write from 0 to the length of the list. Length of the list, which will run now only in some time. Length of the list will give us the number of characters present in the list. So there are 3, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 characters. So length is 3. So this indirectly it means 0, comma 3. So for loop in range 0, comma 3, that means it's going to print the element at the 0th index, the element at the first index, and the element at the second index, which would give us as the output as 3, 4, and 5. So it's going to run for the 0th, first, and the second index and give us 3, 4, and 5. And if I write print lsti, so here I will be first, it will be 0, then it will be 1, then it will be 2, and we can retrieve all the elements one by one using loops. Then we have slicing of a list. If there's a particular word and we want to slice each and every character of that word, for example, India. So this is how you can slice the characters. So India, so here each letter is a different element. So if I want to print list 0 and this, if I write this colon and 3, that means that I want to print from 0 to 3. So it's going to print 0, 1, 2 until 2 only. The last number is not printed. If I write 3 and colon colon, then I'm going to start from the third index and go till the end, which is 1, 2, 3. This is the third index, so it's going to print I and A. So this is, and if I don't specify any index, not the first, not the second, then it's going to print the whole word. So these are some things like, this is the syntax basically. If I want to slice through a list and if I write between square brackets, if I write only one letter, then it's going to print that particular element, like in the first example over here. And if I want to print a sequence of letters, then we can specify it using colon. Like if I want to print from 0 to 5, so this is how we're going to do. And if we want to print from the starting to a particular index, then we can print, we don't have to specify the starting index, then it's going to automatically pick from the start and it will go till the third index. And if I don't want to specify the last index and I want to print it till the end from the third position, then we are going to do like this. Now it's going to print from the third element till the end. And if you don't mention anything, then it's going to print the whole string from the starting to the end. So these are some particular examples which are how you can retrieve elements or how you can slice the elements in the string. Then, so I hope these three things are clear: accessing elements, retrieving elements, and slicing elements. Then we have nested lists. Nested, the word nested is used in almost all data types. Nested means that you have a list inside another list. For example, this is a list. This is which starts from here and it's end here. These are the two brackets. Then inside the list, you have an element. This is one whole element, which is a list. And this is another element, which is another list. You can have another list inside this also. So let's look at example. This is a list. So this list contains only numeric database, but I can have a list inside the list as well. Now this whole is one element, one single element. This is a list. If I want to print element, if I want to print the second element, you can write lt2. It's going to print the second element, which is this whole. And if I want to print the second element of the second element, that's also possible. 2 like this. Now it's going to print first, it's going to search for the second element of LT, which is this. Then it's going to search for the second element of LT, which is 1, 2, and this 0, 1, and 2. So it's going to print 7 in this case. Let's try printing it. See, here it's printing the second element, and here it's printing the second element of the second element. You can also change it. You can write 0, then it's going to print the first element of the second element. See, so this is how nested lists work. And this is how you can retrieve elements from the list, nested lists. Then how do we add elements to a list? For adding elements, we have a function called append. So append can be used for adding elements at the end of the list. If I write list, if I have a list which contains two elements 1 and 2, and if I write list dot append 3 in bracket, it's going to add this digit 3 at the end of the list. And if I want to delete element from a list, then we can directly write del and list1. So it's going to delete the element at the first index. It's not going to delete the number 1. It's going to delete the element at the first index. So the list was 1, 2, and 3. And if I write del list1, it's going to delete the number at the first index, which is 0 and 1. It's going to delete this number 2. And then after deleting, we have the list contains only two elements, 1 and 3, because 2 was deleted, which was at the first index. This is a point to be noted, that you have to give the indexing of the you have to give not the digit but the index of which you want to delete. Then these are some basic operations which can be performed on the list. These we used to do in strings also. Len, which can be used for getting the length of the string. Then if we add the plus operator, it combines or concatenates the two strings together. If you write this asterisk symbol, then it is used for repetition. It's going to repeat the single string 4 times. And if I write 3 in, this in operator is used for checking whether this digit 3 is present in the list or not. It's going to give the output as true or false. Then this is for loop. This we all know. For x in this, print x. So it's going to, this is used for iterating or traversing through the list. Then creating a list using list constructor, which I have already mentioned. You can directly use square brackets or you can use the list constructor. These are the two ways of creating a list. Then len is done. Then max. Max is used for retrieving the highest or the maximum value, as the name suggests, from the list. So if I write max list lst, it's going to give me the maximum value in the list. Similarly, we have min. It's give the minimum value. Then sum, it gives the sum of all the elements present in the list. But this is a point to be noted, that the list should contain all the numeric data types only, otherwise it's going to give us an error, because you cannot add or sum up the letters, alphabets. So it is important that either the number should be float or integer. Then sorted is used for sorting the list into ascending order. So in list, we do not have a method to sort elements in descending order, but we can do it using two operations. First, we can sort the list using a sorted method. It will sort the list in ascending order. Then we can use another method, which is reverse. It reverses the order, which means that if you reverse the ascending order, it's obviously going to give you the descending order. Append we have already talked about. Then there's another method, list insert, sorry, it does the same thing. The only difference is that in append you can add the element only at the end, whereas in insert you can add an element at a particular index. So this is the syntax. You write the list name dot insert, then you write the index comma object. So it's here it's 3 comma 5. That means it's going to add the object 5, the number 5 at the third index. 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to add 5 at the third index, and the rest is same. Rest elements stay the same. Then deleting elements. There are four methods of deleting an element. Actually five. First one we have already discussed, which is del. It deletes the element at the particular index. Then we have remove item. It removes the specific item. If you want to, if you don't know the index of the element, you can root remove. Use remove. It removes the item which you want to remove. Then pop. Pop removes the. If you write only pop, nothing inside the bracket, then it's going to remove the last element. And if you give an index inside the brackets, then it's going to remove the element at the particular index. And clear removes all the elements in the list. It does not delete the list, but it removes or it truncates the list completely. So don't get confused between del and clear. Del deletes the list, whereas clear clears it all. So the list stays there, but it is not deleted. You can still add elements. Then count is used for counting the number of elements present in the list. For example, over here, the list is A. This is the list, and if I write A dot count 3, so it's going to count the number of times the number 3 has occurred in the list. So it's 2 times. You can also specify the index position in count, that from which position to which position you want to check. Then sort and sorted. Both of these things do the same thing. You can either use sort or sorted. Both of them are going to arrange the list in ascending order. And if you want to arrange the list in descending order, you can reverse the order of the list, which is in descending. Like first you can sort it and then you can reverse it, so you can get it in descending order. Or you can directly use reverse for many other things. You can reverse the order of the list completely. It's going to change it. The first elements become the last element, and the last becomes the first. So this is what reverse does. So I hope everybody's clear with this, because in list we do not have so many functions. These are just basic things, basic requirements which are needed, and these are very helpful, and it makes our work a lot more easier and convenient to use. So lists are really good in Python. So if you liked the video and if you understood everything, please do like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you. Yes.